Coming up, another monthly yarn over the back fence with Walter Williams and Ashleigh Mack. Time to go pink with Ipswich Hospital Foundation. Councillor watchdog overreach. Floods, flood buybacks, and we say a sad goodbye to colleges by the river. Also in this episode of Ipswich Today, we talk air shows and reminisce about the first fast food store in Ipswich. It's Tuesday, October 18, 2022, and I'm Alan Roebuck. Welcome to Ipswich Today, which acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which it is produced and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging. This podcast is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. Ashleigh Mack was born in Ipswich and growing up in Ebbw Vale, he assures us he hasn't been affected much at all. He was the first voice on QFM in 1990 and is still a media tart and a small business owner into the bargain. Welcome, Ash.
And still suffering from being under those power lines.
Walter Williams has called Ipswich home for 31 years and you'll know his voice on many TV and radio ads. He's been extremely busy at the moment, so you'll hear him even more. Previously heard on QFM, Star FM, River and 4BC. Welcome, Walter.
Thank you, mate. Good to be here.
Great to have you guys along once again for Over the Back Fence. Now, before we get into our meaty topics, I just wanted to start with a quick plug for the Ipswich Hospital Foundation's Go Pink Day to raise awareness for breast cancer. Coming up on the 28th of October at Brothers from 7am. They do a great job in the community. IHF Go Pink is in its third year, and if you want tickets, just jump on the Ipswich Hospital Foundation website. Plug over, shameless plug for the Ipswich Hospital Foundation.
Look, it's so hard if you're a charity to fight yourself above all the other. Any plug is a good plug.
Yeah, always happy to support them. Now let's get into the meaty subjects, and it's been in the news on and off for months, if not a couple of years now, and that's the Office of Independent Assessor, and it's kind of like the mini police force looking after complaints about councillors, which was set up by the state government after all the hoo-ha with Ipswich and Logan and a few others. But here's the thing. It's being misused politically. There's no doubt about that. And the Office of Independent Assessor, I think, is going way over the top in its handling of complaints. What have you guys taken in with the OIA?
One of the things I've noticed about any of these organisations, whether they be talking about this particular organisation or this one they're going to bring in with the feds, right? They weaponise it. As soon as you get it in, they weaponise. Instead of using it for what it's supposed to be used for, it's used to just get brownie points by some politician somewhere. And it shouldn't be. That shouldn't happen.
No. It seems common sense seems to go out the door. I think Blind Freddie could have seen that, it was going to be used by councillor against councillor. And what does the report say to Parliament this month? In the last 6 months, just 5 councils accounted for 83% of councillor versus councillor complaints. These councillors need to grow up.
It's like a kindergarten, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah,
they need to grow up.
You're running to the teacher tattletaling.
Yes, you want them to get on with the job, don't you? That they were voted in for.
But it's all this cheap point scoring that goes on. Not all councillors are in that category, I hasten to add. But I must agree with the Ipswich Tribune's Brian Benyon. He wrote an opinion piece.
And was it good or was it good?
It nailed it.
It was great.
It absolutely nailed it. Congratulations, Brian.
Yeah, you did a good one on that one.
Wivenhoe is again in the news. Weather is in the news. Are we going to get more floods or not? We'll just have to wait and see. It's currently being drained down to 80%. We've got flood buybacks. We've got to talk about that as well. I think we'll talk about Wivenhoe first and lowering to 80%.
I think they should probably tell the people at Jacaranda Downs that no, it's not going to go over the top of Colleges Crossing, because they're all panicking about that at the moment.
I know. And the issue is there too, Ash, as you know, being so close to the river there, is that if we get a big downpour of rain, that could bump it over the top of the crossing, even though they've done their best to control it coming out of the gates. And talking about flooding, the bell is tolled on Colleges by the River. Mike Darcy and his team will be no more. And that's very sad news.
Yeah. It was a great spot to go down to on the weekend, get an ice cream, take the kids down for a bit of a wander. I'm not a great fan of the changes they made down there. I loved Colleges in its original sort of raw form.
So we're talking what pre-1993?
Oh, going back to 1974 when we used to go camping there.
Oh,
It was
wow.
it was wonderful. You know, you'd be camping on the gravel, right? You'd start yourself a little campfire. It was great. It was just pure. It was a bit like Savages, you know, not Savages. Savages Crossing.
And Twin Bridges.
And Twin Bridges. It was just a bit like that.
Yeah.
Just you and the bull sharks.
Yeah, well, actually, we didn't know about those in those days. You know?
Well, they're very real.
No wonder I became a good swimmer, but I think I was scared of the damn things.
Dear. Look, we must bring up something. I was hoping to get Mike on with us, Mike Darcy, but couldn't arrange that for this recording of Over the Back Fence. But the fact that the cafe was left in situ and got destroyed earlier this year is an absolute sin. And look, council has been ducking for cover. I know the mayor has told me that it all happened very quickly, but the fact is, it takes about 12 hours for the water to get from Ivanhoe down to Colleges, and the only way that the cafe floods is with releases from Ivanhoe. Mm-hmm. So somebody didn't tell somebody, and somebody's butt's being covered somewhere because it could have been taken out. It used to take about 3 hours to disconnect the plumbing and get it onto a truck and get it up to higher ground. Ash, what were you going to say?
Well, I always wondered why they didn't just build it on higher ground. Because there's some beautiful, like they could have, cantilevered it off the cliff and had a great view.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been an expensive option, though, at the time.
Well, flooding it out and losing it completely is also pretty bloody expensive.
That's correct. And it is losing a nice asset for the park, not having
and that was designed to be floodproof, just like Riverside Parkland. It's also was initially designed so that you could lay flat those railings.
Yep.
But they never do.
Well, they used to. They used to.
Yeah, they used to, but they haven't been doing it lately.
I think I blame the brain drain from council while under administration.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yes, too much brain drain too quickly. And quite frankly, junior staff were frightened to make decisions on things that they knew should be done. But the seniors didn't know. The senior management didn't know, right?
Yeah.
So the information wasn't getting around?
No. And that's why we've seen all this unnecessary damage and waste of thousands of dollars.
The one in Queen's Park is, what is it called? Queen's Park Cafe is for sale. So maybe Mike should go and do a deal on that. He knows his game.
He certainly does.
Go and grab hold of that because that's another, and that one's not going to get flooded.
No.
Might be getting driven mad by bats, but it won't get flooded.
If Queen's Park gets flooded, we're all in trouble.
You're not wrong.
What a great segue, Walt, into the flood buybacks. You've seen this week that there's the second round of flood buybacks across Ipswich. How are you going? We've talked about your situation previously.
Yeah, not only seen it, but we are part of this tranche, as the French say. Yes, QRA assessor has been around in the last week and had a look-see. You couldn't read him. He could play poker very well, this book. big guy named Gary. Big shout out to him from the QRA. And apparently we've got a 4 to 6 week wait before we know anything to decide what the future will be.
Walter, if you don't get bought out, there's something wrong.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you're just where you are. It seems like common sense to me.
Well,
but anyway,
I still have nightmares about the floods. I tell you,
I bet you do. And the weather forecast doesn't give you any encouragement either.
No.
Well, I'm sure I can speak on behalf of Ash and everybody. We've got our fingers crossed for you, Walt, that you get the right result out of that.
Yeah, and if you move to bloody Springfield, we won't talk to you anymore.
No, I'm actually buying right next to you, Ash.
Oh, no.
I got to put a tennis court in and sign out to you.
I changed my mind.
Now, before we go any further, I just want to check with Ash something we talked about last month.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Did you get to Riverview to get rid of your hazardous waste?
No, I think it rained.
Come on.
I think it rained, didn't it?
I don't know.
Something happened. And you know how life gets in the road of things when you're doing, I don't know whether the kids came up or something like that, but I didn't. And I thought, the next day you get that feeling, oh, damn, I missed it. When's the next one on? They need to do it monthly.
Well, probably more often for you by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I've still got that bloody paint in the garage I want to get rid of. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Hey, I want to talk about now the annual business awards that are run by the Ipswich Region Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce. They're two separate lots of awards, but they're similar aims to recognise great achievements in local business. Now, the Ipswich Awards are on the 5th of November, the Greater Springfield Chambers on the 29th of October, which they're having at the Bundamba Racecourse, actually, which is great to see. Tickets are on sale for both, so I just thought I'd throw that in for...
Who's the favourite?
Oh, gee. There's so many categories.
The racecourse?
There's so many new businesses in town, which is good to see.
It's great to see. And new faces. So anybody interested in attending those awards should get on the respective websites of both the Ipswich Chamber and the Greater Springfield Chamber. Now, something that's coming up, I hope the weather does not affect, because it has been jinxed in the past, and that's the Ipswich Ambly air tattoo on the 29th and 30th of October. Have you been enjoying the extra practice from the Super?
Isn't that great?
Oh, yes.
Isn't that great? That guy, what is he flying? My son works out there.
Yep.
Right, he's a Sparky out there, and he was telling me this bloke, he just gets out, I think it's 2:00 in the afternoon, he has to go out and practice, and Adam Harrison gets a free show. He says it's just absolutely amazing watching this guy, handle that plane, like standing on its tail and all that sort of stuff. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, we get a free show at our place every time they do it.
Yeah.
So I know that if you have missed out, because it has sold out, right? There are free viewing hubs around the place. Just come over to our joint. We'll put on the barbie.
Yeah, Walter will be there selling chips, drinks,
Now,
make a fortune.
It's a great idea that the council has set these up. One in Ipswich Central, Springfield Central Sports Complex, and at Rosewood too. They don't miss out.
That's good.
That's amazing you can see it from that far away.
Well, they're going to be doing, obviously extra big laps. But something I haven't seen, which the RAF did say would happen, is one Hornet flying very low at 1,000 kilometres an hour during practice. But I haven't seen that yet. I've seen the two or three flying.
Hang on a second. 1,000 kilometres, is that just under the speed of sound?
You'll have to ask Dr. Cole that one.
That's
off
fast.
the top of my head, I don't know. Yeah,
that'll have all those clouds around the wings and very Top Gun. That'll be amazing.
Yeah. So there's still time to maybe see that bit of practice going on, but that'll be a big weekend, and the plane spotters will come from far and wide.
Oh, they'll be looking for their growlers, won't they?
Yeah. Congratulations to the RAF and to Ipswich City Council.
Hey, is Doxy going out again this year?
I haven't heard who's commentating, Ash.
I remember one year I went out there and he was in a chopper that they just hovered.
Yes.
Instead of building a platform, they just put him in a chopper and hovered, and he did the commentating from up in there.
Yep.
What a buzz that'd be.
Yeah. Which year did you attend?
Oh, I remember, I'll tell you how long I've lived around here. My first time at an Amberley Air Show would have been 1975 or 76.
Wow.
The only reason I can remember is because my car was an EH Holden, my first car, and on the way back, I had a small mechanical failure.
Uh-oh. And
So
that entailed what?
Getting towed home.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right, so I can remember there was one of my early, your first car blues things,
Yes.
Well, how about you? What's your air show experience?
Well, actually, I met my wife at an air show.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm serious.
Tell us the story.
Has she worked out you're not a pilot yet?
Don't tell her. The secret is not out. I met her at an air show in Moree, New South Wales, of all places, when I was working at 2VM back in the day. And
I just got to rewind you a sec. Why would there be an air show in Moree?
There is an airport at Moree.
I know that, but
Yeah.
Did this involve RAF or just civilian?
No,
This was just civilian plane.
a couple of tiger moths and a kite.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Exactly.
Yep.
It was a pretty good air show, actually, as air shows go.
I know.
And funny, and we met up there, and here we are 40 years later, still together.
You've got more to say on the air show, Ash.
Yeah, well, actually, this sort of ties in with that. There used to be a guy named Sess Height, and in Ipswich, and old people of Ipswich remember this guy. He had a tiger moth, and at Christmas, and I think he had something to do with either a bus company or something like that. But at Christmas, he would fly this thing and throw pamphlets out with numbers no, seriously,
Oh, like a lucky number thing.
yeah. And it was a bit like the turkey thing in WKRP, but that's through these. It was a way of advertising. It was the days before litter rules, but people would know that Sess Height and his tiger moth.
All right.
Who knew turkeys couldn't fly?
Exactly.
Oh, dear. Well, we've had so much fun on this episode of Over the Back Fence. We bring it to the reminiscing time. And this is a clue about what we're going to talk about.
I say, did you hear the Colonel's got a cobber? A cobber call? Why, yes, it is, as a matter of fact, in the Colonel's tasty cobber pack. Not one piece of chicken, you get two. Potato, gravy, and a roll for you. And this tender, succulent cobber corn wrapped in foil. To keep it warm? Now what's it called? This pack sounds great. Remember the name, it's your cobber, mate. Kentucky Fried Chicken's cobber pack at $1.49. That's no corn, oh yeah.
And that was 1979, guys, a TV.
And I think
We think we know who it is now.
You think you've worked out the voices? Come on.
Bernard King.
No.
Oh, who else?
One more
Paul
guess.
J. Turner?
No, wrong. It's
Not Greenie.
No, the main voice is Brian Tate.
Oh my God!
wow.
Yes, I was
He
saying
was-
before about newsreaders. Yeah.
Yes, he was a big star on BTQ Channel 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so there he is featuring in a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That wasn't.
No
that wasn't
KFC.
Eddie Edwards with him, was it?
I don't know the other guy.
Eddie Edwards or no, it wouldn't be George Wallace.
No. It
One
was
of
a
the
yo-
old ad.
No, it was a younger guy who was with him in the ad. I just don't know who it is. But obviously Brian Tate was very famous on our screens here in Queensland. But I love the price at the end, $1.49.
Yes.
That'd be nice. That's still in the same spot in Ipswich.
The ad, the TV ad, was filmed at the first Kentucky Fried Chicken, which was at Kedron.
Yes.
And it's since been demolished.
Yeah, that was originally the Kedron Park Bowls Club.
Was it? Okay.
And the guy who wandered in there was a mate of mine with $64,000.
Who don't you know, Ash?
Well, it was Randall Ferris, actually. You know Randall.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, Randall was he ended up becoming the worldwide brand manager for KFC, and Randall owned a radio station, as you know, that a couple of us worked for. Now, Randall walked in there with $64,000 to buy the place. And they said, "What are you going to do?" And he said, "Sell pieces of chicken." And they laughed at him. And lo and behold, that was the first one. Then we got our Kentucky Fried Chicken in Ipswich, and boy, was that a change here.
Oh, yes. Well, there was always, I've been to a couple of trivia nights in Ipswich, and there was a bit of debate one night over where was the first fast food. And I'm talking about not Jimmy Waz. I'm talking about fast food like Kentucky Fried. And the quiz master at the night said it was Pizza Hut at Bouval, and I put in a protest because I can remember stopping at Kentucky Fried Chicken in 1974 driving between Warwick and Brisbane. Because you never had the Cunningham Highway bypass then. You had to come right through Churchill, blah, blah, blah.
They were very close. It was KFC was first, and that's the second KFC building, by the way. It's been demolished once and rebuilt.
Changed them all, yeah.
And the original Pizza Hut was in the car park of what is now Bouval Fair.
Roughly where the bank was or is?
Yeah,
Somewhere
or near that, where
yeah.
Red Rooster was and that. And I remember that because this is going back a bit. Before I met Penelope, I took...
At an air show.
No, she wasn't an air show. Before I met her, I actually met her on the 5:15 train out of Brisbane.
How romantic.
No, she wanted to do that idiot wasn't the tight pants. But anyway, I'll clean that one up. Anyway, you've thrown me now. I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah, I remember going to the Pizza Hut with the daughter of the manager or the big wig of Jacaranda Milk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
When that was there.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a long time ago. But KFC did beat it because it was the only game in town. I'll tell you what, it was a Friday night. It was just a lineup to get in there.
I have to put my hand up and say I couldn't drive past. I had to go in.
Oh, yeah, you have to. Yeah.
You know, back in the day.
I remember in the early 90s, there was a Pizza Hut at North Ipswich.
Yes.
Yeah, it still is, yeah.
Opposite the
Where
Jets.
we held our very first meeting for the very new Ipswich radio station in 1990, QFM. Yeah. And of course now it's McNamara Lawyers.
No, it's not.
They've moved on again,
That's
haven't they?
right. It's real estate.
It was Ray
isn't it?
White, and then now
Ray White,
and
that's
they've
it.
just sold that to Elders.
Oh, okay. Well, it's staying real estate then.
There's still life in that Pizza Hut.
Deanne Ramsey just sold out to the Elders people.
Oh, right. Okay. And you mentioned Jacaranda Milk there, We'll call this the special purple edition of Over the Back Fence because the jacarandas are out.
Which means it's exam time, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not holding back. They're loving this weather. But we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks again for a fun sesh. Over the Back Fence will be back next month. Thanks, Ash.
See you then.
Thanks, Walter.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
And a reminder to look for handy links in the show notes. Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. This podcast is also listener-supported. Please make a once-only gift or regular donation to help keep it online. Just go to ipswichtoday.com.au and click the donate button on the homepage to make a payment through PayPal. Follow and stream this podcast from your favourite app, including iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcasts, or play Ipswich Today from smart speakers. Music is supplied by Purple Planet Music. This is Alan Roebuck. Thank you for listening.